Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Coast to coast college football.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. He's going to go out of there.
The sickest college football podcast.
There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the missed field goal back. He ran it back 109 yards.
It's going to be sick.
That's right.
That's right.
It's the Sick Podcast, Coast to Coast College Football Show. I'm John Lund, the East Coast side. He's Dan Lynch, the West Coast transplant, except not currently.
No.
Back on the East Coast. Dan East Coast Lynch has returned to his homeland to just record this show and fly back immediately. Now, it's a nice little respite from the nice weather. We happen to have nice weather still going as the early fall hits the East Coast, so we're welcoming you with open arms with some of these mid-70s days. You don't have to worry about sunburn. It's a great return home, Dan.
No, it definitely is. And I think on the West Coast right now, we're going through a pretty bad heat wave. So I'm avoiding everything everywhere I go. It's just beautiful, just like this podcast. But yes, I'm in my native land of New Jersey right now, land of pizza, homemade cooking from mom, getting yelled at by mom. But, you know, it's good to be home, bro. And, you know, just like home, it just delivers, just like the first 3 weeks of college football, bro.
The first 3 weeks have delivered, and the storylines have exacerbated for some teams we didn't expect. Shout out to your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, a little sleeper for the ACC.
Yeah.
Making their run, taking down Clemson in a thrilling game, 55-plus yard field goal to win it all. The Toro, or whatever they scream to get them out there for the final go at it. And, of course, Dabo thankfully got to take those 2 timeouts back home with him to Clemson because he didn't want to try to ice the kicker, despite this being a play that every team practices at least once a week per season. Now, it doesn't get put into practice necessarily, but it seems like if ever there's a time for your kicker to have to make one of the most important kicks of his life, not having any time to think about it, just running on the field and going through the motions that you've done 100 times is the way to do it. This kid would have been good from 10 more yards. Ice in his veins, never a doubt, home field, here we go. And it was just a great moment for the Georgia Tech program and what they've been building, and coach is emotional after the game. I mean, that was incredible for them to be able to do that. And on the Clemson side, here we are again in a position where do we have to win out the rest of our games to try to get into this college football playoff or the ACC championship based on how things are going. From the highs to the lows, is the roof on fire for the Tigers? It was just a crazy results to now the narratives coming out of that. We saw Dabo today on Tuesday going through his, well, if you don't want me here, if you don't think I can do this, if you don't believe in me, I'll leave. I'm not going to a beach. I'm going to coach somewhere else. You don't think this program is one of the top programs in the country? We won the league 8 out of 10 years. And he went on his diatribe. It's like he's memorized it and he's ready to go. I just didn't expect that we would see it heading into week 4. So it was an early, if you don't want me here, if you don't believe in us, get lost. We'll do it ourselves. We saw that from Dabo last year, but it was, heading into the ACC championship game. We're already getting it. So just 2 crazy circumstances for those 2 teams in the ACC side of things.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think just from the Georgia Tech perspective, that's a program defining win. Sure. I mean, something that they've been building up for years there. And to do it against the ACC darlings, Clemson, that have become annoying in the ACC for how good they are. And I kind of, when Dabo went on this rant today, I was like, man, he has won a lot of ball games, and he's only 55 years old, bro. That's crazy. And Dabo, actually, you're wrong. If you would be going to a beach, because UCLA would be calling you tomorrow and said, whatever you want, bro. We'll give you a beach house. We'll give you a mountain house, whatever you want. Virginia Tech, too. I mean, I don't know if Blacksburg's near the beach, technically. But, I don't know what's necessarily going on over there. I think from an offensive line perspective, let's just start there. Not the same physicality that we have seen from Clemson teams that have just been bullying other ACC teams in years past. So I'll start there. The athletes on the outside too, receiving core going into the season. I mean, so many people are like ACC. They have the best receivers in the ACC. They have not showed up. Tight end play too. I mean, you always see a great tight end coming out of Clemson. Just not the same team. And it also all goes back to Cade Klubnik. I don't think you can put the full blame on him, but 3 turnovers in 3 games. He never done that in his career. There's just a lot of different things going on over there. Tyler from Spartanburg might be giving a call to Dabo and the Tigers very, very soon. But if there's any coach that I believe can bring people back and believe again and get the ball rolling again, it's a Dabo Sweeney type. Same for Notre Dame with Marcus Freeman. When you have a great leader and you have a great coach, you're always going to somehow be in the conversation. But all it takes is this one loss in a very good ACC. I think at the beginning of the year, I probably had them last out of the Power 4. Now I have them probably close, tied 3rd with the Big 12, but still, from top to bottom, it's not the same old ACC that we are used to seeing year in and year out. But yeah, it's just weird. But you feel for a guy like Dabo when you see him go on a rant like this today, and you're just like, man, you're panicking a little bit, bro. It ain't the same as it used to be, Dabo. People have caught up to you, my man.
Yeah, we talked about it before the season started, just how shocking how he handled the transfer portal and NIL era was. Now, NIL, they were getting paid at Clemson. DJ Uiagalelei had the huge Dr. Pepper deals and the huge fast food chain deals before he even took the field for that last disastrous year with Clemson before he transferred. So it's not like they weren't getting the money side, but the personnel side, just not going into the portal. And for this season in particular, we all had the highest of expectations for Cade Klubnik this season because Cade is going to be playing in his 3rd year, and we assumed that experience and being with the program, sitting behind DJ for a year, was going to propel him to be one of the top quarterbacks in college football, and it just hasn't happened. Whether or not it develops and becomes something as these weeks go on, it sure might. But quarterbacks in general, a lot of the quarterbacks that we thought would be top tier for this season have not. And guys have risen from the depths that we didn't expect. But if you were looking at Cade all spring and all summer, and we're seeing the same quarterback that you've seen now for 2 seasons, why you didn't go into the portal and try to bring somebody else in, whether to start or whether to at least have a quarterback competition to where if he wins the job at this point in the season, or when you're playing the lesser teams in quotation marks, you could throw him out there and see if he could bring new life to the team or see who the players get behind, if that's even part of the equation. But if you're watching Cade Klubnik and have been seeing what you're seeing and thinking, well, it'll all work out in the end, it simply hasn't. And these weren't easy teams that they lost to, no question. LSU is going to be one of the best teams in the SEC, it appears, although Brian Kelly's first answer to his press conference, ripping the reporter right out of the gate for asking about his
spoiled
offense, wasn't the best of situations, that he had to apologize the next day for it. Although it kind of was a stupid question to lead off with. Like, we just won the game. Hey, pal, how's your offense? What's going down on 3rd downs? Like, can I at least get the cupcakes out of the way and build up until like maybe Monday's presser? You bring that into how to fix the offense right out of the gate. I'm not surprised he had that answer. I think a lot of coaches would be like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? We just 100%. Won against a great team and you're worried about my offense. Well, look at the scoreboard. That's besides the point, though. What's going on with Clemson is something that we've seen, where these big games come and you expect big moments and you end up with 1 or 2 miscues, and these other teams are taking advantage of it. Whether or not Cade Klubnik comes out of that and he's able to put these things together. He had a couple injuries on offense. A wide receiver goes down that was supposed to be a huge part of the game plan, doesn't help. But even against Troy, you're trailing at the half 16-0, and it's just like you haven't seen much from this Clemson team to say, well, if that part of the game wasn't working, at least they had this, that, and the third helping them out. It just hasn't been good across the board. So now you're looking at some of the teams that they have to play. They're going to North Carolina and Boston College. You would assume that's going to be fine. They have to host Syracuse. You assume that's going to be fine. They're hosting SMU. We're not exactly sure how great SMU will be. They haven't looked as top tier as they did last year when they got to the ACC championship unscathed in the conference. Duke hasn't looked great. Maybe they'll turn it around by November. You have to play Florida State at home. You have to go to Louisville, and we haven't seen enough out of Louisville to know whether or not they're going to be good. But they can turn into a great team in the ACC because they haven't started to really have to play anybody yet to have that answer. And then to South Carolina to end the season. I mean, you're looking at maybe having to go unbeaten to get to the ACC championship game. And if you do suffer a loss and luckily backdoor into the championship, you're going to have to win it again to get to the college football playoff. It's just crazy that the expectations and what they hoped for this year after 3 games are completely in the gutter for a lot of those instances. Again, they could still be fine. It's still early, and we've talked about it enough with all the teams that make it now. It's not the worst thing in the world to lose this early, but like for Notre Dame, bringing up, for example, 2 losses already without a championship game to play for. You better hope you're beating teams by a lot come the end of the season. So when the committee pretends that they care about college football and looks at all their box scores and pieces of paper at the end with all their stats on it, they'll see, wow, Notre Dame ran the table here at the end. They must be one of the better teams. Clemson ran the table here at the end. They must be one of the better teams. You look good late. It'll definitely help your cause when it comes time to putting all these teams in. But for now, a lot of red flags with those programs, and I'm not sure they can get through any given Saturday. Things can go wrong, and if one thing does, that could be it moving forward. You've really left yourself no room for error. Granted, losing to decent programs along the way. It wasn't cupcake East Carolina U or whatever the joke was Dabo made a couple years ago, but you didn't expect this if you're Clemson or Notre Dame, no question.
You just never want to be in a situation where you need help from other teams. And I feel like even if Clemson does everything right from now until the end of November, they're going to need help from other teams. And you just can never trust anyone else, right? I mean, it's going to be interesting going forward for them. But I also want to reiterate, moving on, if you're a Clemson fan and you're saying we need to move on from Dabo, why?
Yeah, for who?
For what?
For who?
For and you also have to understand Clemson is a very unique place. It's a small school in the middle of nowhere, South Carolina, that you kind of have to know how to recruit the type of kid to get there. And Dabo is the perfect guy for that. So I don't see that changing. I mean, before Dabo Swinney, Clemson was not even a thought in people's minds when it came to college football.
And
Dabo
you could say
made
like
everything about that program. So
you haven't won with non-generational quarterbacks, which is true. Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence won their national championships. But you also can't pick generational quarterbacks out of a tree. It's very difficult to find them in the first place. So yes, did he not find them in DJU and now Cade Klubnik? Most likely not for the latter, but that's not going to be something that you're able to just make a thing year after year. It doesn't happen to any program. And we're seeing that play out now where we thought guys were going to take over and it just didn't happen. So
Arch Manning.
It's just the talent. Arch Manning, we're going to get into.
We'll get into that, yes.
The talent portion of Clemson's roster across the board not living up to their expectation has been the biggest surprise, not solely on the quarterback, although they get the most blame. It's the whole team, the whole scheme, just not living up to the expectations that they built for themselves. And that's of no fault to them for making them such a program where you expect them to win year after year. 9-3 isn't the worst thing in the world. He's got a point in saying that we just won the league last year. Why are you holding that against us that we won't be able to do something similar? But it is still surprising in general that they got off to the start that they did. It was also surprising in general to see what happened to Florida, because they had a quarterback in DJ Lagway that we expected to be somewhere in the Heisman conversation, up with the top guys like Arch Manning, which unfortunately for him hasn't necessarily played out. To have the statistics that they had in their loss, where they're outgaining in first downs against LSU 20-something to like 9. The defense played its ass off, and what they did on paper should have won them that game, except DJ Lagway threw every interception that's ever existed in one game, over and over again, just when you think there's no way he can possibly another interception.
Boom.
When you're getting up to 3 and 4, there's something. When you're getting to, what is it in baseball, 5, the golden sombrero, I think that's even just 4, whatever is after 4 in baseball. You never want to be anywhere sniffing that type of a number.
No.
And he just didn't have it that day. And obviously that was something that LSU was able to take advantage of, despite their offense not performing to the reporters' high standards in that game. They won it in an environment that was obviously difficult to have to play in. And playing Florida isn't something that's easy. They had their home crowd behind them, no question. That definitely helped. But you come out of there with a victory, and now you're looking at Florida and their schedule remaining. Here we go again with the conversations about Billy Napier and his future. Just an unfortunate handling of how this season has played out again this early, that now everybody's jumping on them. What are you doing wrong? Why are we here? It was just ugly to watch that game, even though on paper losing to LSU isn't the worst thing in the world. No. How they ended up losing, though, is just unacceptable to that fan base.
Completely. I mean, if you look at Florida's defense too, there's at least 4 or 5 guys who will be at least top 3 round picks, right? Like, you're going to see guys on that from that team on NFL squads for many years to come. The other side of it, the DJ Lagway thing, is he's so young. He's a true sophomore. And he just needs time, but you could just tell after that second interception, he was just out there. Whoa, where is that blitz coming from over there? And also LSU lost 2 of their best defensive players on defense. So it was just a lot. But speaking of coaches here, right? Dabo's safe. Napier,
I think so. Despite what the fan bases and the chats might say, I'm pretty sure he's okay.
I would be shocked, and we could run this back if Dabo Swinney is not the head coach of Clemson next year. We saw some coach changes over the weekend, USC or UCLA and Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
We might be seeing another one in the swamp. I mean, they're playing Miami this weekend. We already know how big of a recruitment statement war game this is. We saw what happened last year with Miami when they beat the crap out of them at home. They were, going over to the recruits saying, don't come here, all that stuff. So I think this is what's going to happen, because to me personally, Miami should be the number 1 team in the country. But if Miami boats roll them, I'm talking over 21 points, I think Billy N's job is done at least by Sunday. And that's crazy to say that UCLA, Virginia Tech, and Florida going into the 4th week of the season, or after the 4th week of the season, we'll all be looking for head coaches. That's wild, man. Yeah. The sport is just out of control. As much as I love it, it's just man, if you're not winning fast and quick and hard, see you later. We'll find someone else to do it.
Teams are having to think big picture now, in the professional leagues, where kids can enter the transfer portal for that 30-day window if their coach is fired. We're coming up on week 4. That's obviously redshirt time. You can play 4 games before you have to shut things down. So now you're looking at players where if you do fire your coach, have to convince them potentially, hey, we know this isn't the year that we thought you would have. If you shut down now, we can redshirt you, hope that we'll hire somebody that is in your favor. Maybe we'll even include you in the process. Wink, wink. They won't, but they could say that.
We'll say that.
And they might stick around and be able to keep some of the roster for the next season, hoping that the next person will be up to that standard. There's so much that goes into it now with how do we get these players to stay and try to build something year after year. And maybe that's what Florida would look into if they get shellacked by Miami. Maybe we're looking forward now to 2026. How can we keep some of these guys, regardless of who their coach is? We know of their potential, and they might go that route. Money is no object to these schools anymore. So it's not that they're worried about buyouts or, we'll wait and next year it'll be a little bit cheaper. The high-powered programs, especially like Florida, they'd have no problem getting rid of Billy Napier for what they'd have to buy him out for. No, it's just a matter of who you can get to come in, and it's just crazy that they're in that situation, because people that are going to make that decision are thinking, okay, we're going to Miami. Still, if they were to lose, not an awful loss. But then you're hosting Texas. You're going to Texas A&M. Mississippi State, who had an incredible win against Arizona State, comes to town. Then we're hosting Georgia. Then you go to Kentucky, which we thought would be easy. Maybe not. Then you're going to Ole Miss. Then you're hosting Tennessee. And then you host Florida State to end the season. Where's the win? Where's the win?
Where's the win?
Two out of those, and that's even maybe not even going to be the case. How do you even make a bowl game this year with your schedule? And that's before the wheels were coming off the cart with these first couple of losses. It was going to be a gauntlet to begin with. Now that you haven't gotten out of the gate well, goodness gracious. I mean, people are ready to burn the house down already. And they were before the season. It was, well, show us something. And they haven't.
At all. But no matter who's the head coach next year, guess what? The schedule's going to be the same. You're going to have to do this again. No matter who's there, you're going to have to play at Tennessee. You're going to have to play at Kentucky. You're going to have to play a Mississippi State. It does not stop. So that's what the reality is of coaching in the SEC. It's the best conference schedule-wise week to week. It's probably the best conference, right?
Sure.
From top to bottom. So doesn't matter who's coming in or not. You're going to have to be dealing with everything. But going back to Billy Napier, I mean, I thought at the beginning of the year, based off the last, 4 games last year, I was like, this team's going to play hard for him. They're going to figure something out. I mean, it just has not clicked yet. I don't know if it's his personality that just fits with the kids nowadays. I mean, you got to have some sort of a rah-rah type of guy now. It just the cool, calm, collected, I'm just a ball coach. I don't know if that shtick is really working for the kids at Florida. But he's a brilliant offensive mind. He's really respected by so many ex-players and guys in the league. So I don't know if it's necessarily his fault. It just did not work out for him.
And you can't control your quarterback throwing 5 interceptions.
No, you can't. And
a couple of them may be on the scheme and the play call and where you wanted him to throw it to, but there's a point in the game where your players have to make plays for you too.
What are you
and
doing?
All 5 aren't on Billy Napier. That's just not how this goes. So
3 of them were like, "What? I don't know what you're looking at. Your feet were not set, and you just threw the ball up." And at the same time, it's just like, "Hey, man, do we have anyone else that could even come in and take over him?" No, we don't. I don't trust anyone else.
As much as
I think he's also hurt, though. I think he's more hurt than we know of.
That could also be the case too. And as much as you think there's guys out there that can just immediately come in and save the day, that's not the case in really any league. Not in the National Football League.
It's not a Disney Channel movie.
It's not a Disney Channel movie, unfortunately, and they should be showing those somewhere 24/7 for the kids of this generation. They're missing out on watching twin girls play basketball with one of the worst in pivot moves you'll ever see that apparently worked perfectly, where all you had to do is shuffle your feet and travel, and you could get around any defender you possibly could. Shout out to those sisters. Incredible film. Google it, folks. Texas A&M, I thought, was a shock for them to win like that at Notre Dame, just because those games always go wrong for them, and it finally didn't. It finally worked out in the end in a nail-biter where they were trying to give Notre Dame the game, and it just didn't happen for the Fighting Irish, who we mentioned again, 2 losses without having a conference championship to play for. You're, again, setting yourself up for having to pretty much win out, and you should, based on their schedule. And USC isn't going to be the juggernaut that could derail your season, but as always,
excuse yourself, ranked USC, brother. Ranked USC. Let's go.
How could I forget? It's just something that you, at this point in the season, didn't expect to have championship level competition in your mind for the rest of the season each week, where we have to view this as our Super Bowl and we can't afford to lose. And teams are going to face us with that same mindset because we're Notre Dame. But Texas A&M 3-0. Who'd have thunk it?
Mike Elko. Hell of a coach, man. And when they made that hire, I was like, I don't know if Mike Elko is Texas A&M material. But it's been working. And obviously on the offensive side of the ball, they got things going, but they play hard. Special teams is also really good. And when you have the funding of a Texas A&M where they could pay a head ball coach to $75 million just to sit on his ass and hang out with me on Sirius XM College Sports Radio, you're going to be able to bring in kids who are going to be able to play there, and also bring in a coach who could figure something out. So Mike Elko, hats off to him, man. Could be very interesting going down, but I I don't know how to judge Notre Dame yet. So I don't necessarily know how to judge Texas A&M yet. I will say this for a lot of teams too. It's very easy to say, hey, 3 weeks in, you guys are this good, right? Like, we could talk about ranked team, unbeaten teams. Like, I don't know, is Oregon the number 1 team in the country just based off of their roster and what they've done to opponents? Is Miami maybe the number 1 team in the country? I mean, no offense to my brothers at Villanova, but I think King's College could maybe beat them. So Penn State, how do we even judge them?
Yeah.
So it's still so early, and we still have so many weeks of college football to talk about, and we're going to figure stuff out. Going into conference play, I think we're going to learn a lot within the next 2 weeks here. But yeah, man, shout out to them. They're doing everything right. The quarterback for Texas A&M is an athlete. It's the best way to describe it. Made really good decisions, but I don't know. Could we make the argument that maybe Notre Dame lost that game instead of Texas A&M winning it?
Well, the play to win it. How are you in one-on-one coverage when it's 4th and forever? The only place they can throw it is into the end zone, and you end up having the tight end break free wide open and get one-on-one coverage to throw a pass that you'd throw in the second quarter to win the game. The whole defense is over on the right side of the field. This guy's got a wide open pathway. What are y'all doing? They have to go into the end zone.
Right.
You didn't expect them to have their guys run there. Have the whole team standing at the goal line and just bull rush ahead, depending on who's running after you. That was surprising in itself, where it's like, oh, the defense is going to make a stand here and they're going to get away from this by the skin of their teeth. No. Texas A&M did not pull their usual trick. So it was a great win for them. And still, as you mentioned, for Notre Dame, we don't know. We don't know. This quarterback is going to continue to evolve, getting thrown into very tough games to start your Notre Dame career. You didn't rely on your running back behind you like we thought you would early going and just have him have 40 carries and lose on that and have a low scoring game where if you do lose, it's 2017, but we tried to hold the ball for 40 minutes. It just didn't happen, but we haven't seen that yet for them to really get their running game going, and it's been against good teams. So we'll see what they're able to do against teams that they feel like they should beat.
Yeah.
One of the watches we have, not on our wrist, but the Arch Manning watch, which just gets escalated week after week. This was the week where you were hopeful to see, okay, the tough opponents were one thing, but now that you're playing UTEP at your own place, now we're going to start picking up some speed. No, was the final answer on that. And after the game and after a couple days, the all 22 video of some of the throws that were missed and opportunities that they just didn't take advantage of started coming out on tape. And people are like, this dude's feet aren't set. This dude's arm angle's out of whack. This dude's running all over the place. It's nowhere what we're expecting at this point in the season, albeit still early. Are we putting up the flags of surrender for Arch Manning being this stud quarterback? The internet had its fun. No wonder why Quinn Ewers was playing in those college football playoff semifinal games. As I've said to you, there was a reason why he was sticking with that dude. It wasn't because Arch Manning was sitting on the bench with this Heisman arm and legs, and he just didn't want to put him out there for whatever reason. There's a reason, a Stark's madness, why he was sticking with Quinn Ewers, who, yet again, got them into national championship contention for 2 straight years at Texas. It's not like he was some schlub. But that was a game people wanted them to win 60-0 and finally be able to say, well, here's our guy. He just struggled for the first couple games, but he's got it. We didn't get that. Now they still have easy opponents coming up to where before you get into the heart of the SEC, you could still work out some kinks. It's still very early, just after 3 games. But from what was on tape, there still wasn't a large enough amount of flashes to where pundits that follow quarterback play could be extremely excited for what's going to come from Arch Manning. There's still so much wonderment of what's going to come in this season. It didn't knock your socks off after week 3, and I know a lot of people were hopeful that it would. That happens in college football. I hate to break the news to people. It happens.
I still think he has potential to be one of the better players in college football, but it's going to take time. If you even just go back to just like the basics of where he played high school football, right? He played in a Christian league or a Catholic league in Louisiana.
He had a dream high school career, man. Small town. He was the star.
He's a Manning.
Biggest regret for Arch Manning is he missed his senior prom so he could leave early to go be with Texas and do whatever nonsense they required of him. Go to prom, dude. Be the prom king. Take the girls and guys out afterward in the limo and party it up afterward. You'll have enough time in college. You might have another year. Spend your time in high school and have all those memories for the rest of your days. What are you getting so excited to be on the bench for and go to Texas? I hated that aspect to end his career. But yes, I agree with you. His high school tape was like, all right, he's great. But as many high school tapes are of these superstars of high school, you're not playing against the staunchest of competitions, unfortunately, when you get to stages like the SEC.
Yeah, and I'm sure if like he was legit, the IMG Academy would have been giving him a call. Said, hey, we want Arch. Bosco out in California would have been giving him a call.
It's not like he doesn't have the connections to answer those phone calls.
And I get it. He's a Manning. They go and play by the rule book. They are traditionalists when it comes to football. They did it
right. Have your high school senior career, man. Forget about all the cameras. They're going to come. Just be a kid for now.
But we could even go back to, and I reference this game a lot, when Georgia went to Texas last year. He got thrown to the fire, right? Yeah. Because Quinn, I believe, threw a bad interception. They were chanting his name in the crowd. Sark was like, you know what? We need to spark this thing up right now, and threw him out there. And he was like, what is going on? 5 kids who probably were going 100,000 miles an hour driving a car are now chasing me down here. I'm playing real big boy football, and it just hasn't clicked yet. And I think it will. I really do think it will. It's going to take time, but the SEC is unforgiving. And if he starts making more and more mistakes there, SEC fans now, Texas fans, are also very unforgiving. Sure. And it's going to be really interesting. But just from a mental standpoint, I mean, Sark said it today, this might be the best thing that's ever happened to him. He's had an unbelievable life. Look at the way he grew up. I was like, well, it's also not his fault. This is the way he was just born into this. But okay, if you want to use that
player to have a famous dad, you just don't happen.
He's never struggled.
Cooper Manning isn't famous. It's his brothers.
Right, but he was like, he's never had a struggle in his life. Maybe this will be good for him. Well, Sark, maybe also playing against the SEC might not be good for him right now. And again, I know it was UTEP, but still, that UTEP, that's their Super Bowl, bro.
Sure.
Like they're going to get, that's the best NFL film. If these guys want to go to the league, that's the best film that they're going to put on paper all year long. So again, he has time to make up for it. Sark is an unbelievable football mind too, who can figure stuff out. The Texas run game has not been what I thought it was going to be. And especially with a younger quarterback, you got to have a run game to kind of back him up.
Right.
But at the same time, like, let's just also, with everything that we're saying about Arch now, right? Let's go back to week 1 where he had a chance and was in the game against Ohio State. Yeah. What does that say about Ohio State?
Right.
What does that say about Ohio State where, at halftime, they obviously pulled away against Ohio, the University of Ohio, but man, it was a kind of a closer game than I thought it would be. Yep. So again, to go over absolutely everything and kind of sum everything that we just said, it's still very young. As fun as the season has been, as many fireworks has been every single week, there's been a great game. And I feel like every single game that we also talk about that we think is going to be a good game, like, has been a great game.
Yeah.
And that's all we can really ask for as fans. And everything will get figured out eventually.
And Sark, I think if you're going to pick a quarterback combo to be able to overcome something like this, the way he can run an offense, you would imagine he'll be able to come up with stuff for these more high-powered SEC games. He's obviously not going to throw out his bag of tricks against UTEP. In these couple games here, he's going to have Arch just go out and figure it out. So that's understandable that he may not be able to come up with what we want his final numbers to be. You would imagine once conference play comes, he'll reach into his Barney bag and see what he can pull out to win these games, get touchdowns on crazy plays, whatever, and just put points on the board and assume that their defense, which we saw was very good against Ohio State, will be able to keep them in games like that, to where Arch might have a role of somewhat of a game manager. Hey, run all this how I tell you, and we'll win. And if that's his role,
Brock Purdy.
And they're and they're winning football games that way, who cares? At least they're winning football games. And again, they have one loss. They'll be fine. We always jump to conclusions in college football while we're talking about all these guys, but that's what happens in this sport. There's preseason expectations put on these kids that shouldn't be, and they carry over into the early games. And when you don't see them matched, well, what's wrong? Blow it all up. What have we been doing? How come they're not doing what we want them to do? We'll take a breath and we'll get into week 6 or so and have a much better feel for how these teams will perform in the college football playoff. I have a chalk or crock for you, a toast or roast, a K or nay, all 3 iterations that I've used on different radio shows through the years. Pack it or trap it. Ours is coasting. But the AP poll came out, just to remind people on where teams stand. Ohio State, Penn State, LSU, Miami, Georgia is your top 5. Oregon fell a couple spots.
Yeah.
Florida State is 7. Texas 8. Illinois has not moved to 9. Texas A&M up 6 spots to 10. Oklahoma, Iowa State, Ole Miss, Alabama, Tennessee, just how we all predicted. Utah and Texas Tech up 4 spots each, representing the Big 12. Georgia Tech, 18, hitting the gas, hitting the brakes. Here they are. Indiana, Vanderbilt, Michigan, Auburn, Missouri, Notre Dame, USC. Notre Dame down 16 spots is the biggest jump. Illinois and Georgia Tech as the these teams should probably be in here, but where do we put them? Because we don't watch all the games. Throw them into this and that.
Shout out to my girl Haley, by the way, who got it rough last week on the internet.
That is where we're going to go into for the toaster roast for this show. I don't hate, obviously, the teams that are in the top 25. It was just interesting to see what happened after some losses. As you said, what do we know about these teams? Where do you put a team like Illinois? Where do you put a team like Georgia Tech? We have to put them somewhere, so we'll just throw them in where we think. But it has been interesting on who has beaten who when they had numbers by their name, how much that mattered, and then looking to see that Notre Dame is 0-2, and you have them in the top 25. Even though they lost to good teams, should they be bounced out? Again, does this matter at all? Which leads us to toaster roast. So we had the big hubbub last week when the week 3 AP top 25 poll came out. And some of the picks were frowned upon, to say the least, where I'm not really sure at all the mindset or the reasonings, and they weren't explained after this went viral, and said person came to the microphone and tried to defend what she had done, but didn't really have any reasoning behind it, which I don't think helped her case. Probably should have just left well enough alone. But there's a larger question here that it's not just her. There's tens of people that vote for the AP that cover one of the teams in college football. If you're covering one of the teams in college football, your entire Saturday is focused on said team covering college football. Your Sunday is focused on said team, and your Monday is focused on said team when they come out and do their press conferences and go over what the game was. So you have a couple days during the week of downtime, quote unquote, where you're not at practice and you're not on the injury reports and you're not looking to see what's going on Tuesday, Wednesday, where you may have the opportunity to watch other football games that have happened. It's unlikely that you're going to, because you've still got responsibilities at your actual job to keep up with the team or other things, because we know how skeleton a lot of newspapers and other organizations are, where you're asked to do 5 things when 5 people should do it and it's just you. So I'm not faulting people that cover teams that they cannot keep track of college football. What I am faulting, and we see this in the college football playoff with the committee, where I believe I looked up 8 of the 13 of the committee this year either are ADs or have administrative roles in colleges. So their Saturdays are also completely tied up with your actual job responsibilities. How can you expect these people to pay attention to 35 plus teams every week? It's impossible.
Impossible.
Regardless of the above 22, the all 22 videos, the shortened games where you can watch them without commercials and fast forward them at times 2 to watch a full game in like 17 minutes. There's no way you can handle all of that while also covering a team full time. So they're throwing these people into these positions where there's just no physical way they can give you the 100% all chips in everything to have that position. Toast or roast, do we need to fix who is in the AP top 25 and who is in the college football playoff committee? This more focused though on the AP top 25. Is there a test that you have to take?
Right, just get it. Yeah.
Is there like a data point that comes out on Tuesday that says, like you would in a college classroom, okay, 18 people got 90, 17 people got 60. We're going to give the medium grade out at 78. Everybody got to 78 in our class because that's how we do the grading system here. We focus on the middle. How can you possibly keep in a handle of these people? Like, what's the grading system? How do you elect people to have these types of positions? I don't know of an answer for it. So while it's not great, like, what's the fix to not have these people that you've put in these positions to have votes? So who gets the votes if they leave? I haven't heard anybody have an answer to it. I heard the rants, Danny Cannell, etc., going after this girl for what she put. And it's just like, okay, yes, but what's your solution to all of this? That's the question we need to have answered.
And to reiterate a lot of things that you just said, you don't get paid to also be an AP.
Correct.
Right?
You're also doing this on your own.
This is an honor to be an AP voter, right? To say on your resume, hey, I was an AP voter, whatever. Yes, exactly. Here I am. I also want to defend Haley because I have sat next to her at multiple USC and UCLA games, and she knows ball. So it sucks the position that she got in. I don't know if I would have done what she did afterwards and explained the way that she did because, one, just from a West Coast college football person, right? Like, people like always crap on us because they say that we don't know what we're doing and we're not like paying attention to everything. So that did not help at all, Haley. I'm just being real with you, but she knows ball. She knows what she's talking about. I've been at press conferences with her. She knows what she's talking about. The other side too is like, we have both been in press rooms, right? Like watching the games. It's not a party. It's quiet the entire time. People are typing out everything. People are watching multiple games all at once. So it's a very, very hard job to do alone of you covering, like you just said, your specific team that you were getting paid to cover, right? And making whatever salary that you make. Granted, probably not a lot of money just because it's the industry that we're in. But again, now you have this AP thing that you have to also pay attention to. And it's tough, especially on the West Coast where games start at 9 o'clock in the morning, right? And if you got to be at the Rose Bowl and you live on the west side of town, that's going to take you an hour and a half to go. And if you don't have like a Sirius XM or you know, any other type of device that you could listen to multiple games or anything like that, it's a very hard job to do. So maybe one of the solutions is, if you're the AP, why don't you hire 60 people, or was it 63 or something like that, to just focus on that? Right. Just the rankings. You're not going to be tied to a school. You work for the AP, and we're going to figure something out. Because I think that's probably the easiest way to possibly do it. You're just an AP voter. You have nothing to do with Notre Dame. You're nothing to do with USC. You're not going to, you know, put your team ahead of one or the other. Yeah. Maybe Haley made a mistake. It very possibly can. And I'm sure this has happened in the past too. But because it was a female, I believe, people are already just like, hey, we're going to go all in on there. So I definitely think that has it. And that's bullshit. That is the thing, because that should not be. Again, Haley knows ball. I've had conversations with her. She's been on a few of my shows before too. So I will stand up for her there. But I don't know, John. I mean, listen, man, I would take a great job at the AP for a decent salary and just say, hey, I will stay up for 14 to 15 straight hours. And by the end of the day, you will have a vote that is very well thought out. I've watched the film, I've watched everything. And by 6 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast, you will have my answer for you. And then we could go from there. I think that's probably the only way to fix it. But man, it's not an easy job to have. As much as I would love to have a vote in the AP, I don't know if I necessarily want one without a paycheck attached to it.
No, it's a long 12 to 2 a.m. if you're on East Coast at least, and then additional watch the games that you couldn't watch because there's no way you could have all the screens up, and paying for all the services that you need to be able to watch these games too. Throw that into my daily stipend that you're going to pay me for the AP vote so I can get Network X, Network Y on top of what I'm already paying for ESPN's multi-view and everything else. It seems like if you want to be serious about it, that's the easiest way. There's plenty of people that are nationally dedicated college football folks that cover the sport as a whole that could focus in and take the time in those couple days to get an idea and a gauge on what's happening, to have somebody as well as that give them stats like a Brett Ciancia does with the Pick Six previews, and have information in front of you too, so you're not just flying blind and looking at the box scores and thinking that you're able to follow Twitter and know what's happening across college football. There are ways to go about it where they can make that happen, and if they want to be serious about it, that's the way they're going to have to go about it. Because the AP poll in itself should just be mostly a fun exercise that the Associated Press does for its followers that gives the general public an idea of what college football is like. Unfortunately, the folks that run college football and the CFP use the AP rankings as an incredibly high pillar for how they decide who makes the college football playoff at the end of the season. And the numbers next to the names before ESPN does their television show and puts their own up there hold a ton of weight. And if this is the process and these people don't have the time to give to the process like a typical college football fan who's obsessed with the sport would want them to, then don't put the weight next to the numbers and have it mean so much to where she can vote however the hell she wants and it won't matter when we get to week 17. But because so much is put on the numbers, when we do, people will look back to week 4 and say, wow, look where this team was ranked here. What happened to where they either go up or down? That's how they go about it, and that's their fault as well. So there has to be a compromise in the middle. If you're going to obsess over the early parts of the season and have the AP rankings matter toward you, though they should be their own separate entity, fine. Help them make that process as thorough as it should be. Much like when it comes to the CFP committee, put people in those rooms who are completely dedicated every weekend and during the week to follow these teams thoroughly so they're able to come to the best conclusions for the biggest part of the sport. Who makes the postseason? Not let's sit in a room on Saturday and talk amongst ourselves if we've ever seen these teams play. Well, they happened to come to Virginia, so I watched X, Y, and Z team. Oh, yeah, well, I was covering them when we were at whatever school, so I saw them play in person. That's not going to skew how they vote if they've seen with their own eyes the specific games or if they beat the team that they cover. There's just weight put in the wrong places for such a grand title to have, and as much pressure there is now in the sport to get this right, because you're going to get burned if it's incorrect on the internet for weeks and for years. They just need to fix it if that's what they want this to be. So shout out to her for taking it on the chin and having to put her Twitter protected, because Jesus, people came out of the woodwork like she's the only person that's ever not had the perfect top 25 vote. That she's the only person where this has ever been a problem with. When if you go down the list weekly, you're going to see a lot of what's. But hey, what do you expect from these people, given what they're also asked to do for their paying job?
Of course.
Roast.
Would you be roasted? Would you be cool with the AP poll coming out on a Wednesday?
I wouldn't mind it at all. No.
Right.
If you need an extra day for these people to also catch up, and on Tuesday, their day off, in quotes, give them more time? Sure.
Yeah.
What
like a
difference
Tuesday or
does
a
it make
Wednesday.
if it's Tuesday or Wednesday? People are still going to obsess over it and enjoy it and wait for it, and it's still going to have the same credence that it does if it's Tuesday or Monday or whatever the day is. Get it right if you want it to be right. If you're going to keep allowing it to go on as is, don't complain. Fix it if you want to complain about it. Just crazy watching people go after these folks like it was voting in a king and it was going to completely change our world. Could you imagine if something like that would happen?
We stand with Haley.
We'll have to have her on the show. Yeah. Maybe by then she'll at least have everything in line for how the voting process goes out, and people will be appeased if she says all the right things, because God forbid people just hold their own opinions for votes. What a crazy world college football is, where now we're going after voters. Everything is wrong because I'm right. Okay, man. Well, put in your application, take the 100 questionnaire that we're going to put for you. Give us your resume, send us your cover letter, give us your demo reel, whatever they want to have the qualifications be for this AP voter position down the road. Hey, we'll open it with all arms. Although then they'd have to vote a committee to actually go through the resumes. That'd be another process in itself. Amazing. Or they'll just use AI like all these other companies, and a computer can decide.
AP
That'll
Idol.
do it.
AP Idol. Let's do it.
AP Idol. That's going to do it for this week's The Sick Media Coast to Coast College Football Show. I say this week's. This was just our recap of week 3. We have another episode to preview what's to come in week 4 for all you obsessives out there in the next couple days. You can follow us on Twitter. He's at Dan Lynch Spurts, SPURTS. I'm at London Bridge. You can also follow our Twitter handle at CFP Sick Media. I don't have it in front of me what it is. I probably should. Find us on Twitter, and then you'll find where you could find our show is the best way to go about it. And we'll be posting clips throughout the week on different things that we said. Sick Pod CFB. Pretty easy to roll right off the tongue, and something that I couldn't memorize. I'm a terrible person. We're also on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave a comment. Like, rate, subscribe, all the stuff you hear your favorite shows say. It actually really does matter. So if you could do that for us, we'd appreciate it.
Please.
Dan's going to enjoy a little bit more of the East Coast, and we're going to put some questions together for your AP voters. We've had enough. Come 2026, we'll have it all figured and squared away, and we'll get these application processes through the door, as well as UCLA, Virginia Tech, and maybe Florida.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Coast to Coast College Football on YouTube, X, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.